Welcome to the eCommerce podcast with Matt Edmundson, a show that brings you regular interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.
Well, hello and welcome to the eCommerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmundson. And it's great that you're here. So let me just there we go. That's better. You can see me now. So welcome to the show. Like I say, it's great that you're here. This show is dedicated to all of you who are in the world of e-commerce and just want to get better at doing e-commerce business and growing your online business. And in tonight's show, we get to chat to the amazing JJ Resnick, all the way from the States. He's going to be joining us, hopefully for the duration of the show. He may have to rush off if his wife sort of starts to give birth to their second child, but we're hoping we should be okay. And JJ is going to be chatting with us about his blueprint, about his 8 steps to building a successful online business. We're going to get into all of that. JJ is a top bloke. As with all folks, I do like a pre-podcast call. I talk to my guests before we let them live on the show. And our little 20-minute pre-podcast call turned into a bit of a marathon session, has to be honest. And it was great just to catch up with JJ. So you're going to love him, that much I do know. Now, if this is your first time to the show, like I say, big fat warm welcome, but make sure you subscribe to the show wherever you get your content. And if you are listening to the show in audio format through the podcast, a big warm welcome to you through your headphones. You may not know, or you may know if you're a regular to the show, that when we record the interviews, we record them live through Facebook. So we broadcast the interview through Facebook Live at the same time as we record them. So you can come along, you can give us a thumbs up, you can join in the conversation, you can add your comments and questions to the guests, and we will get into all of that. So do check us out on Facebook if you haven't done so already. Just head on over to facebook.com/Matt Edmundson CO. As in Matt Edmundson Company, Matt Edmundson Co. And you will find all the information there. Another good place to head to is the website, mattedmundson.com. All the show notes from tonight's podcast will be on there. All of the notes, all of the links to JJ, everything he's going to talk about, everything that I'm going to talk about, all the sponsors, all the subscription links, the Facebook link, the YouTube link, all of them will be on the website. So if you remember nothing else, just head over to mattedmundson.com and you will find everything you need to know right there. And I am super psyched to announce that by the end of this week, today being Monday at the time of recording, by the end of this week, all of the new e-commerce course will be live on the website. So you can join the e-commerce masterclass and you can download that course. We're doing a really superb special offer during the COVID lockdown. And we know a lot of people have gone through it already. You can read all their testimonials. I won't bore you with them on the podcast, but trust me, you will get a lot of value out of this course. We go through just everything that I do to build an e-commerce business. So do check that out. Again, all the details will be on the website, mattedmundson.com. If you're watching on Facebook, they won't be there now. They'll be there in a couple of days' time. It will be live by the end of this week. Trust me. So do keep an eye out for that. Now, before we get into our conversation with JJ, let me just give a big shout out as usual to our show sponsors. Let me give a big shout out to one of our show sponsors, Curious Digital. You know what? I love its flexibility. It's such a great platform. You know how when you start out, you might typically use an online platform because they're cheap, they're easy to use, super accessible. But you know what? They aren't that flexible. And as your business grows, you end up moving to an agency, right? Because that's just what you do. And at some point, you're going to have this nightmare to deal with, and it can be incredibly expensive. And the thing for me that I love about KD is it will grow with you. You can start out on the platform easily, and as your business grows, then KD will adapt with you. Now, I don't know of any other platform that does all of that. So if you're in the market for a new e-commerce platform, make sure you follow the links from mattedmundson.com. Take advantage of the offers that they've got for you, and let me know what you think. big shout out to another show sponsor, the Lightbulb Agency. These guys basically do those bits of e-commerce that you either don't want to do or don't have the skills or expertise to do, right? It's a great service. Let me tell you, these guys do fulfillment, e-commerce marketing, content creation, customer service, product research. I mean, the list goes on. So if you need help with your own online business, you're looking for ways to grow, and you need some help to get there, do get in touch with them. And again, just follow the links from today's show notes. Head on over to mattedmundson.com and you can follow the links to the Lightbulb Agency. Would love to put you in touch with those guys. Let me take just a few seconds here to tell you about my brand new e-commerce course that is perfectly designed for those of you who are looking to build your own online business, right? I know it's going to work well for you guys because we deep dive into the process that I use to build my own e-commerce businesses. We're going to look at the 6 key elements that you need to be aware of for building a successful online store. I'm utterly convinced it'll make a huge difference to your business. I am super proud of it, let me tell you, and it is brand new for 2020. It's called the eCommerce Masterclass. You can check out what other people think about the course. You can find out more information on my site at mattedmundson.com. Now, let me read this out to you. Because I want to make sure we get this right. In tonight's podcast, we are going to interview JJ Resnick, who is an expert in working with brands to help them succeed online. In tonight's show, JJ and I are going to chat about his 8-step blueprint for building a successful e-commerce business. It is the exact same checklist that they use themselves whenever they're building their own businesses. So we know this works. We know it's good to go. This is not theory. This has been proven and tested in the real world. So without further ado, let's bring JJ onto the show. JJ, it is good to see you. My friend, welcome to the show. It's great that you're here.
Hey, Matt. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Happy to be here.
All the way from whereabouts? You're in California, right?
I am in Marin, which is about 20 miles north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
I love that part of the world. I just love it. It is a great place. If you've never been, folks from England, do head out. It is, the Golden Gate Bridge is just stunning. And you can hire bikes, can't you, and cycle across that thing.
You can.
And
exactly. And now, in fact, just this morning, I was reading about these new water bikes that people are taking out there, going across the bay, and it's pretty wild. Never seen anything like it.
Water bikes?
Yeah, you can check them out. In fact, I just saw a news article with Conor McGregor. He was with the Princess of Monaco, I think it was, and he was posting how they were on a water bike race. And so I was so intrigued. I Googled, I just saw the name Schiller on the side of this thing. It looks like a boat, essentially, like a small raft with a bike on top, and they're just cruising through the ocean. So I Googled the company, and it looks like they're based out here because all their photos showing people going under the Golden Gate Bridge. I was like, there's no way I'm going out there. It's Great White Central out there.
Oh, is it?
Oh, yeah. Great whites are flying out of the water around there. You know, the whole Alcatraz.
Yeah.
People would try escaping, and most of them would be taken.
Okay.
They would never be seen again.
Just because of the great white sharks.
There's a lot of sharks out there. Wow. So you're not going to catch me on one of those water bikes, but maybe on my golf course pond out back here. That might be fun.
Wow. Living the dream there on your golf course pond, driving a water bike.
Yeah.
Way of the future. JJ, do me a favor. Just could you be a little bit more central on your video? It's just there we go.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's not that. We do this split screen view, which I know you can't see because you're joining us on Skype, and so we were only seeing your nose a little bit. So there we go. We get full facial features now.
Trying to get comfortable at my desk here.
What time is it for you now?
It is 10:50 in the morning.
10:50 in the morning. That's not too bad. And how have you found lockdown?
You know, it hasn't been so bad for me, honestly, because I'm here in my office. I've been here in my office for the last many years. Only leave to play a little golf and go to the grocery store. So going into lockdown wasn't much of a change. But, you know, the whole world is a bit crazy, a bit chaotic right now. So I feel for everybody that's having to go through some massive change. But for me specifically, it's just kind of business as usual, building e-com brands here in my basement. And that's what I love to do. So,
so how long have you been doing that? How long have you been involved in it?
You know, really for about a decade.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I got in right around 2007, 8. As soon as my professional golf days ended, my career ended due to a knee injury. But I mean, I messed around with every type of online business you can imagine, from trying affiliate stuff to, I never went into drop shipping, but if I found a course on how to make money online back in 08, 09, you better believe I was buying it.
You were there.
So, you know, I was searching for those mentors and just trying to figure it all out at that point. So I probably spent really 4 or 5 years at least struggling and just going from thing to thing. And it wasn't until 2012 when it all just came together with my first e-com business.
So what was the tipping point then? What made it go from being hard work to working for you?
Well, I think a lot of it was, you know, a lot of people will say luck, but I don't really believe in luck. I think luck is just a combination of preparation and opportunity, really just coming together. You got to be putting yourself constantly in the right places and throwing things at the wall. And if you do that enough times, something's going to stick. Yeah. And then people see that and they're like, oh, he got lucky. But it just so happened that a friend of mine had come back from Afghanistan, and his Humvee was hit by an IED, and long story short, he ended up getting a service dog. And we were at a party one night. He's telling me all about this new life of his with his service dog, and how he had just been kicked off of an American Airlines flight going back to see his family.
No way.
Yeah, and that just blew me away. So, I mean, when I hear something like this, I'll just dig in and start, just like I told you about that water bike. You know, I see something on the news and then I go down a rabbit hole, sometimes for a couple hours, just because I'm curious. And I think that's probably been one of my, I guess, best attributes, or strong, just being curious. And hey, we're on the Curiosity podcast, right?
No, it's true. And I think curiosity is one of the most underutilized or untalked about gifts, if that makes sense. It's something that I think gets talked out of you when you're in your childhood, and it really shouldn't. You know, you should definitely foster that gift and stay curious, definitely.
Yeah, it blows me away how so many of my friends, or just people I come across, we both see the same thing and they just continue walking by and forget about it 2 seconds later. And my mind is going on thinking about, wait a minute, how's that made? Who's making, who are the competitors in this space? Can it be improved? Things like that. So it's really a mindset shift. And that just comes, I think, through time and doing this over and over. But anyhow, so that next day, I just started looking into the whole industry and realized there was a big pain point here for a lot of our disabled vets and just disabled Americans in general. And so I set out on a mission to go and help him. And I started creating all of these, all the service dog supplies. So harnesses and vests and things like that. And I didn't do it to make millions of dollars. I did it to help. And again, I learned afterwards, I think that was really one of the other biggest things that set that business off. When you're just getting into something all about the money and that's all you care about, I think you're going to have a tough time. I think you really need a bigger why and reason in everything you're doing. But I figured, hey, maybe it'll make me a few $1,000s a month and be a fun side project to help. Mm-hmm. Well, within about 6-7 months, I should say in the first month, we hit $12,000 in sales. And I was blown away. And then it was like 20,000 the next month, 30. Yeah. I think by month 9, we were at 6 figures. Wow. And the business just blew up. So that was exciting. But then about 2 years in, the industry started going in a direction that I didn't care for. You started seeing all of these socialites who had, I won't name any names, but like the blonde-haired socialites who had their own reality TV shows and little Chihuahua dogs. Yeah. And I started seeing their names coming through our purchase orders, and I was going, this doesn't make any sense. Like, this definitely is not a service dog. And that got me, I just lost passion for the industry after that. So it just so happened, I guess you could say luck again, right? I was born into a family where my great grandmother had invented a cocktail called the Moscow Mule. Okay. And at this point, I was overseas. I was at the Canton Fair doing some sourcing for service dog products. And remember, I was right at the end of that business. I was losing my passion. And I walked through a kitchen expo on my way home to the hotel for the evening. And it's filled with Moscow Mule.
Oh. Okay, so we seem to have lost JJ, and it is reconnecting now, it tells me. So just bear with us 1 second while we pull that on. And whilst hopefully JJ is coming back, I do want to emphasize this point that he was talking about, that look, there's that famous quote, isn't there? The more I prepare, the luckier I seem to get. I can't remember who said it. I just remember someone did say that. JJ, you're back.
Here?
Yeah, okay, you kind of went off for a little second there. It kind of lost connection. The trouble
I was afraid I was rambling on too much and you kicked me off.
we just cut the feed every now and again. No, I was just saying, whilst it was reconnecting there, I liked what you were saying about luck and about how that quote, the more prepared I am, the luckier I seem to get, or the harder I train, the luckier I seem to get. It's that kind of gist of things, and I can't remember who said it. But you were talking about luck again, weren't you? And it's like, but you're right. The more you prepare, the luckier you seem to get. So let's get back to your story. You're walking through this hotel lobby.
Yeah, and you can cut me off. I tend to go on and on tangents sometimes. So anyway, I'll finish up real quick. So I'm walking through the hotel. There's Moscow Mule mugs everywhere. And I look at my dad. So it was his grandmother, my great grandmother, who had invented this cocktail in 1941. Wow. And I had inherited this original mug that she had created the cocktail in. Okay. But they looked nothing like the mugs that I was seeing. So I started picking some of these up and talking with some of the vendors and realized that they were just pieces of tin with copper spray paint and they were calling them Moscow Mule mugs.
Mm-hmm.
So again, my mind started going. I get back to the hotel room and I tell my dad, this is it. This is my calling. He knew I was losing passion at the time for the dog industry. And so I spent the next 6-8 months on the mission to source the best copper in the world and, remake the original copper mug.
Okay.
And, I knew how powerful story was in creating a brand. And so I had already inherited this story. So it just all the stars aligned for me there. And we ended up not going to China because, again, it was all just really a bunch of junk over there when it came to copper. And we found the best copper was sourced in India, Turkey, and Mexico.
Okay.
Well, I eliminated Mexico because the town they were making all the copper was one of the biggest cartel towns.
Yeah, you don't want to get involved in that.
Yeah, not about to go down there.
No.
And then Turkey, some other issues. So we ended up going with India, and it was one of the best things I ever did. And speaking of luck, about 3 months after we launched the Moscow Copper Company, 2 things happened. Within the first week of launch, Food and Wine magazine published an article, never reached out to me. I had no idea that they even did this. So I'm not expecting any traffic to come to the site yet, had not started running ads. And I start getting boom, 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 literally order after order every 10, 20 seconds. And I'm actually at Digital Marketers Traffic and Conversion Summit at the time. And I run up to my hotel room and race onto the computer to see where the source of the traffic was, find this article. And I mean, it couldn't have been a better ad.
Yeah, man.
Because it wasn't an ad. It was a nice editorial piece at the end. It just said, if you want to get your original classic mugs, click here. So, then what was it?
So are you still doing the Moscow Mule company?
Right around the end of 2019, so on Black Friday, we closed, and I sold a majority stake in that company. So I still have partial ownership, but not involved in the day-to-day any longer. So,
and what's the website? Because I'll check it out later. I'm curious.
Yeah, it's moscowcopper.com.
Okay.
And we also controlled our media portion of that business was moscowmule.com. So that's obviously the most valuable domain name in the cocktail space. And was that's very really lucky to
last year, towards the end of last year, we went to a local company here to make gin, gin and tonic. It's a very popular drink in the UK. I don't know if it's popular in the States, but here, gin
Fever Tree tonic is really popular.
Yeah, massive thing. And so we went on this experience where you brewed, is brew the right word? Distilled your own gin is probably a better phrase to use. And they used these copper distills. And I thought the way they did the whole thing was really clever. And I was like, I took some photos of the copper distill because I'm like, right, I'm going to go to this company and I'm going to say, listen, I just want this copper distill here. And I know somebody in the botanical industry, so I could create the botanicals, no problem. I could get the copper distill and I could put them together on a website and sell like a gin distill kit, and you buy it as a gift and then you can buy your botanicals from me, no problem. I thought this would be really fun, a great idea to do. Until I went to the copper distill company and they said, well, you have to buy the whole range. And I said, I don't want a whole range. I just want to buy this one because it was really cool the way it all worked. And they said, well, no, you have to buy the whole one. I'm like, do you actually have any distributors anywhere in the UK? Portuguese company. And they're like, no. And I'm like, Hey guys, come on, seriously, think about it. No, it's really funny, isn't it? Sometimes it just doesn't work out, but you have these great ideas. So maybe put me in touch with your Indian copper company and I can talk to them about getting them made.
Definitely. Yeah, I'd love to see what you had in mind there too.
Yeah.
Talk more about that.
Absolutely. So let's go through you've obviously set up a lot of companies and sold them or a bit like me, you sort of every couple of years you want to do something new and reinvent yourself, which is cool. And you've got this sort of 8-step blueprint, you call it. So can we go through that, what your 8 steps are?
Sure. I'd be happy to. We'll run through it. Obviously we can't go through, the entire thing, but I can also, I think my team created a link for your audience that they can go through later. We've outlined, or we've given the entire blueprint out. So they can go to, I believe it's buildmybrand.xyz/curiosity.
Yes.
And if you go there,
I'm going to copy that link here and I'll put it on the screen. You carry on talking, JJ, while I just fix
so
that.
after the episode, you can go through and see the whole thing. And we're constantly updating that blueprint. So you'll actually have access to a full members area when you go through that. And we'll be keeping you updated with any changes we make to the blueprint as we update them. But so phase 1 is what we like to call the game plan. And that's really where we're coming up with whatever the niche product idea is that we're going to build. And, there's kind of a big controversy with this phase 1. And I'll tell you that
I like big controversy.
Yeah. I'm sure you've heard this, Matt. You've got plenty of entrepreneurs that I really respect that will tell you phase 1 should be building your raving fans, building your audience out before you're coming up with any product or niche. Well, you're coming up with a niche, but just creating, say, a Facebook page around outdoors, or people that like to hunt or camp. And then you build that audience up, then figure out later what products they want, sell them the products. Now, I've done it both ways. I've done it that way, and I've also done it where I've started phase 1 with a product idea.
Yeah.
And it, just for this purpose, we're going to start with phase 1 being coming up with your product idea.
Okay.
Because I think it's a bit easier that way. And we probably 70-80% of the time go that route. Yeah. Mainly because I've got a list in my iPhone of probably 100 ideas at this very moment that I've researched, vetted, and I know for a fact I could build a 7-8 figure business with these ideas, but just don't have the time, right? I'm sure you've got the same.
Well, that's the reason I'm smiling. Like you, I'd say to people, you've got to start with a product. You've got to have a product that people want to buy first and foremost. And I'm like you, I'm constantly making notes on my phone. Oh, that looks interesting. You go away, you do a bit of research and find out, it's a bit too saturated. I'll put that on the scratch list, or that one looks, yeah. Totally. Yeah. Totally.
So anyway, just to briefly cover phase 1, and the research I go through, there's a couple tools I'll use. Let's say I see a product and I'm curious about it. I jump on the computer. I'll first check out Helium 10. They have it's an Amazon tool.
Okay.
And so I'll go on there and I'll just reverse engineer everything. Yeah. And I can see how much search volume there is for that product in that niche, see how many competitors are out there. If every competitor on the first page has over 100 reviews and has been around for years, I'm probably going to scratch the idea. Yeah. Granted, I also am a big believer in building your own brand and not building what people call an Amazon business. There really is no such thing as an Amazon business. You might sell on the Amazon platform, but if you're building a business, you're creating a brand and you're just using that platform. And I don't like to, I look at it like I'm building my tent in somebody else's backyard. I want my own land to build my house on. So first and foremost, I'm setting out to create a brand that people will know, like, and trust, and build brand loyalty there.
Yeah.
But if I can get hundreds of thousands of dollars a month on Amazon in the meantime, great.
Yeah.
Then
so you're not doing it at the exclusion of Amazon, but you're not doing exclusively Amazon.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And some products like Moscow Copper, we didn't even really touch Amazon. Couldn't even compete there because people were selling 4 copper mugs for $25 when we were selling one for $49. So not the right platform. So it all depends on the business. And please stop me if I need to move quicker, just let me know.
No, that's good. So
two,
phase 1 is, you call it the game plan, and that's researching your product. And you do that using Helium-10, is that right?
I'll use Helium-10, but if I want to come up with new ideas, I'll go on to sites. I'll look at Amazon bestseller list. I'll look at sites like Indiegogo and Kickstarter.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I mean, you can just go down a rabbit hole for days.
Hours.
And just finding things there. So I was amazed by how many people would come to me and their problem was having no idea.
Yeah.
And because, like both of us, they're a dime a dozen. But
yeah, you're right. I think it's I've always been intrigued by people saying, I don't actually know what to sell. I want to set up an online business, but I don't know what to sell. I'm like, goodness me.
Yeah.
There is definitely no shortage of ideas and stuff which you can sell. You just need to learn how to do the research.
Exactly. And a lot of it is they just have no clue that these tools even exist. They see them and they're like, you can see how many people are searching this topic each month. Yeah. You can see how many sales your competitors are making. It blows people away more in this space. Yeah. But once you've got your idea, you move on to phase 2. And this is where we come up with a name for the business.
Okay. So you've not named the business until phase 2.
Right. We get in and I use tools like Name Mesh is one of my favorites.
Okay.
And Lean Domain Search sometimes. And I'll write out all the base keywords, and adjectives that describe the product or the emotions I'm trying to evoke. Yeah. And I'll just put them together and I'll look through there and I'll do trademark search, of course. Make sure I'm not infringing. And then, it's back and forth with my team, shooting names for a couple days. We'll let them marinate and then we'll pick one.
Yeah.
And I like to say that a name can make a business, but it's probably not going to break your business. So if you've got a great product and a crappy name, you're probably still going to do okay.
Yeah.
But if you got a great name, it's probably going to help you a bit. So
yeah, but if you've got a crap product but a great name, there's no
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I appreciate that.
So then phase 3, we move on. This is the very fun legal phase. My favorite.
And I don't think so. Yes. Important, but
not
fun.
I really am hands off during this phase. Fortunately, we've found a great legal team out here in the and if anybody's watching from the States or from California, hit me up and I can introduce you to our team. They're fantastic. We've got a team of accountants, CPAs, great legal, all of it covered in under one roof.
Wow.
So So yeah, we figure out whether, or I should say they tell me whether we're best suited on this brand to be an LLC or an S Corp, C Corp, and they get all that stuff structured. Again, I know very little when it comes to taxes and the structure of corporations.
I think it's good advice though, because I mean, you know, in the States you have very different company structures to what we have here in the UK. And I dare say listeners all around the world, you know, your local company structure is going to be different. So how you set that up will be very dependent on the territory that you're in. It will be dependent upon the territories that you want to sell to. And the best people to help you with that are going to be a good local legal team. And it's worth having a conversation with them in the early stages, because you don't want to get caught later on down the line, that's for sure. So
exactly. Yeah. I don't know about you, but I've gone down that road with my first business, and playing catch up or you know, going backwards and trying to fix things years down the road
is a nightmare.
And when you're trying to sell your company, which I was going to get into later in phase 8, which is the exit phase of your business. Yeah, well, I'll save that for a few minutes.
Yeah, we'll get into that. But no, definitely get the legals done right at the start, especially if you are entering into an agreement with another company, or if you're entering into an agreement with, say, a partner or an investor. Even if the partner or investor is your friend at the early stages, you know, the early stages, everybody's still friends.
Most importantly, if they're your friend.
Yeah. Because when you start making keep them money, your friend. Or when times get tough, that's when you really, really need to make sure all that documentation's in place. Trust me, I have been burned. Definitely been burned by this. And I'm sure, JJ, you have as well. Which is why we're no, get it sorted right at the start. Trust us on this. Having been around the block a few times, get it fixed from day one.
Because if you're anything like, you know, like you or I, you want to race, get off to the races with your idea. And it's all just fun and games in the beginning. Like, oh yeah, you want to be my partner? Let's do this. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. We're now making $1 million every month, and we don't have everything in place. Mm-hmm. So yeah, things can get ugly. Yeah. So moving on to phase 4. Mm-hmm. And once we've got all the legal structure in place, and also I should mention, sometimes we'll start phase 4 while phase 3 is happening behind the scenes, because as long as we know the corporation is just about to be finalized, we can be getting phase 4, finding our raving fans, going, because the process for doing that is getting the shell of our website built, getting the blog set up. It's having our content team publishing a few different articles, which to find those articles that we're going to write, we're using, again, tools like Helium 10, Ahrefs. We're finding the keywords that people are searching for, and then writing articles there. So that way we're really getting a head start on our SEO strategy, so that we can start driving organic traffic to the site when it's ready. Because, you know, it's going to take a month, 1 to 3 months to go through the product creation phase. And so by the time the product's here and ready to go, we may already have some articles that are starting to rank.
Yeah, because it can take 3 to 6 months for your articles to rank. It's not always the case, but most of the time it's a medium-term strategy, isn't it, SEO?
Exactly. Depending on how difficult, you know, your keywords are, it could take 6 to 9 months. But yeah, so phase 4 there is finding those raving fans and just starting to build up an audience. You know, you're getting all your social media accounts set up. We're starting to split test some funnels, so some lead magnets, tripwires, just to bring
Let me
those.
just interrupt 1 second here, JJ, because I know what you mean when you say things like funnels and lead magnets and all these sorts of things. I just wonder, if there's people listening to the show who go, what are you talking about when you say funnels and lead magnets? There may be phrases that people have heard, but never really understood. For sure. So let's just clarify what they are.
Sure. That I'll use this example because something we've started doing recently that I'm more excited than just about anything for right now is these quiz funnels that we've started.
That's a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I found, anytime I'm trying to learn a new topic, everything I'm talking about today, I didn't invent or create any of this stuff. I've searched out and found the best of the best in each of these fields, and I've hired them to mentor me and I spend thousands of dollars on masterminds to do this stuff. And there's a guy, Ryan Levesque. Are you familiar with Ryan?
Yep.
And so he is the master when it comes to building quiz funnels. He started doing these for major corporations like Proactive Skincare, Revolution Golf, and what they are is they're the quizzes you'll see in social media. They're marketing quizzes that will say things like, what is your biggest swing killer? If it's for the golf swing.
Sure.
And you go in and you take this 5 to 10 question quiz with the idea of figuring out what your biggest killer in your golf swing is. And then what they do is they're using this as a tripwire or lead magnet to get your information. And so they're building thousands and thousands of leads per day doing this. And we've started testing them, and it's incredible because you're able to get leads for pennies on the dollar. Instead of spending 75 cents or $1 for a click on Facebook, now we're getting them for 10 to 20 cents.
Wow. Wow. That's a massive improvement.
Oh, it is for sure. And you're getting people to really engage in your content. And so what we're doing once we've got their contact info and now they're on our email list, we're providing them, the system works like this. You attract, you prescribe, and you diagnose. And so you've got a Band-Aid and a cure. Your Band-Aid is the free solution that you're giving them, whether it's really just anything. It could be a PDF article, a video, and your cure is your actual course you're selling or your product.
Sure.
And so, the trip, does that explain?
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, and we've covered a topic we've never actually covered on the show, which is really cool, the quiz funnels. So no, I appreciate you doing that and telling us that you're having some success with them.
Oh yeah, no, they're great. And we're starting to implement them with some of our partners now in different brands, and they're fantastic. So
yeah, we did it on the beauty site.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, several years ago actually, we came up with this concept where you filled out this quiz about your skin, and it gave you a prescription, and it was super cool. What type
of skin you have?
Yeah, what your skin concerns were, and then it would recommend products to you. And if you give us your address, we would send you samples of those products so you could try them before you bought them. And the conversion rates from that funnel were insanely high.
Fantastic. Yeah, the beauty space is a great one for quiz funnels for sure. I mean, it works in literally every niche you can think of. But there's some that work a little better than others. Yeah. So as we have back to, we're finding our raving fans.
Yep.
And now we're moving on to phase 5 where we begin to create the product. And creating the product, there's really 4 steps there. You've got your research phase, and this is where you're spending a lot of time looking at competitors. You're again, Helium-10, great tool because you can go in and it'll sort out all of the reviews. Instead of reading through one by one, you can pick, say all of the 1-star reviews, and then it'll actually tell you the most commonly used phrases in each of these reviews, which is so helpful because, if you're selling a collagen peptide product, let's say, you go through and it tells you "in my coffee" is the most commonly used phrase. So now you see that your customers are primarily buying this product to put in their coffee. So little things like this are going to help you with creating your product and, marketing your product. So yeah, you're doing your research, you're figuring out what people are saying their biggest pain points or what they don't like about these products. You're then moving on to planning, which is where you're finding the right manufacturer. Mm-hmm. And this is a very difficult step. A lot of people end up quitting at this point because they're just terrified of sending thousands of dollars off to, a Chinese supplier, let's say. Fortunately, I have, again, been doing this for years, and so have you. So we've built up great supply chain, manufacturers that we can trust, and that's not a problem anymore. So in the beginning, though, it can be very difficult. But yeah, you want to get samples sent out from, I'd recommend at least 3 different suppliers.
Yeah.
You want to, really negotiate. You want to get to a price where you don't want to fight them too much, because you're going to end up pissing them off and they're going to start using subpar materials in your product.
And they're not going to deliver on time, and you're going to get pants customer service and all that sort of stuff.
Right. So you don't want to just nickel and dime your manufacturer, but you want to get a fair price where you're going to be able to, stay in business and compete. Anyhow, then you move on to your prototyping stage, where you're, again, depending on the type of product you're creating, if it's something completely from scratch where you have an engineer developing all this, you're going to do more prototyping, versus if you're just creating a private label product that you're changing something slightly on, you might not be doing as much prototyping. Then you actually move on to manufacturing. Then you move on to phase 6, and this is where we finish the website. So as I mentioned, and how are we on time?
We're good. Yeah, we got a little while. Yep.
Okay. So once you've got the manufacturing process going, you're now building. You already started your website. You've got your blog up, your about us page, and little bits, but you don't have your product details page and all the filler content. So you're really building that out, and it's a perfect time to do it because you're waiting anywhere from, again, 30 to 90 days.
So do you take pre-orders on your sites?
We do. We've started doing that a lot more recently, than we did in the beginning. Again, it's a learning process. I learn new stuff every day, but definitely over the last couple of years, I've started doing more pre-orders. But that can also bite you, because I'll give you an example on a product from about three months ago. We had everything in place. I had already received perfect prototype samples, and manufacturer who I've worked with for years. Sorry, I've been talking a lot lately and losing my voice.
No. Stay hydrated. Top tip. Especially in the summer. Jeez.
So, yeah, this is a great example because the manufacturer had me believing that we were going to be receiving our first batch of inventory in about 2 weeks. And I had no reason to doubt that. I've worked with this manufacturer on other products for years, always came through. Well, this time I find out, again, I started doing pre-orders and running ads, spending a lot of money. We sold through about 50 or 60 products, or 50 or 60 orders had come through. And I was thinking that the products were about to be air freighted the next day. Everything's going to work. I get an email from the supplier and he tells me, bad news. All of the shell casings of the product were scratched. And now, thankfully, you know, if I was a new client, you know, I've heard of horror stories where they could have just shipped me the 2,000 units with the scratches and I would have received them on time, but then I would have had a bunch of unhappy customers. So, you know, long story short, we had to write the customers and tell them, look, we apologize, but we're going to be another couple weeks out and we're going to send you another unit as a way of apologizing, right? So, and that's something else to touch on. Not many people will do this because they're like, well, that's going to cost me more money. But if you do run into problems like this, do whatever you can to satisfy that customer, whether it's giving them another product for free, just make them happy because it'll pay for that tenfold, 100-fold. Yeah. These customers will tell their friends. And
especially when you're a new business as well, you need them to write the reviews. You need all of that sort of data and information.
Exactly.
Don't you? So you've got to treat them right to get that data out of them.
It can destroy your business really before you even get started. So, you know, and most people are pretty understanding. If you're upfront with them and you just communicate, they'll be okay with it. I mean, maybe we had one customer that, and you're always going to have one or two that, you know, nothing's going to make them happy. But the majority of them said, oh, thank you so much. You know, no problem. I understand. So, yeah, that's, where were we? The finishing your website out while you're waiting for your product to finish manufacturing. And then you move on to phase 7. So once your product has arrived, you've fully tested the website. Now, back in the beginning, when I didn't have a team, this was all me doing this stuff, you know, testing every button, testing the whole shopping cart process. And of course, I missed things along the way. And, you know, you're going to run into so many headaches.
Yeah, you really are.
But
it's a crucial step. This whole testing thing is absolutely critical. We're making a new site live tomorrow, actually. And we have spent days, hours. I mean, if you add up all the time we've spent testing, it will run into weeks because you've got to get
with multiple people on your team doing it.
The whole team, everybody on the team has been testing and testing and continually testing. And even then, I know for certain one thing, we will have not caught everything, but we will have caught most things. And the more people you throw at testing, the more bugs you catch. The more bugs you catch, the better your launch experience is going to be.
Exactly. So if you're a solopreneur, you've got to hire just bring on your family, friends.
Yeah, get them in.
Everybody you can think of.
And test on every device as well. Don't just test it on your computer.
Oh, that's
test
the other thing.
Test it on your mobile, test it on your tablet.
You've got to check Firefox, Safari, because you thought you checked everything, and then some customer writes who's using Internet Explorer, you know, and you're just like, wow.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. I didn't even know these people still existed, but apparently they do, and they're using my site and having issues. Dang
exactly. Yep. you're like, no, how could this be? It's worked on every browser, every tablet. So yeah, there's no way you're going to catch everything, just like Matt said, but you can catch the majority of it. Yeah. So,
and get people to help you. And I don't think, and I mean, I don't want what you're thinking here is, JJ, but for me, I don't think you have to solve every bug. So for example, if your website doesn't work on certain versions of Internet Explorer, that's fine. But you just need to put a notice up on your site saying this site has not been optimized for this version of Internet Explorer. Please use ... and explain what works.
Right. Because again, if it's fine. One person out of 1,000 that's using this or coming to the site, you got to weigh out the cost benefit.
The cost benefit of it doing it.
Yeah. Is it going to cost you $2,000 to have your developer make this change? Maybe it's not worth it, for that one customer a month that's going to come there.
Yeah.
But
I think as long as you inform them and just say, ahead of time, listen, we noticed this is what you're using. This site's not going to work that well on that browser. Please use something else. And your developer should do that for you pretty easily, I would have thought. And you know what? Whenever we put that on the site, I've never had any issue or complaints from a client going, why have you not supporting my 1984 version of Internet Explorer?
Yeah.
Because they expect it. They kind of go, oh, well, it's true. You're not the only site that said that to me.
And maybe you can even go the extra mile and throw a little tutorial video out there and say, and by the way, if you'd like to check out, the 2020 browsers that people are using, here's a great video. It might even help you.
Yeah.
And there you go. Create some more goodwill.
Absolutely. Always be helpful.
Yeah.
So phase 7 then is you're doing all your testing. You've done a shed load of testing here. What else is going on?
Yeah. So this is really the launch phase, and it encompasses a lot. So you're launching and you're growing your brand. So this phase is really going on all the way up until you exit the business. Mm-hmm. And so, once after we've launched, this is when we start really starting to test more vigorously. We're testing our ads. We're split testing different landing pages, different copy, because we really just need to start driving as much traffic as we can to see what's working, and then we're eliminating what doesn't work, and we're doing more and more of what is working. So, the other thing is so many new entrepreneurs will get overwhelmed. They think they have to do YouTube videos, Facebook ads, Google ads, all of it, right?
Yeah.
And don't.
No.
Just pick one.
That's always my advice. Pick one and do it really well.
Pick one and master it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you've built up a team and you're at a point where Matt or I are at, then you can have a person dedicated to Google, dedicated to YouTube, because these are full-time jobs running these different channels. And your focus needs to be specifically growing your brand, what you're going to do to continue keeping your customers happy and, driving more and more traffic to the brand.
No, it's very true. Very true. I actually had an interesting conversation, JJ, and tell me what you think about this. I had an interesting conversation with someone the other day about whether or not I should ditch Instagram, right? So I'm on Instagram. There's, I don't know, maybe 15,000 followers, 16,000, somewhere around there. It's not a massive amount, but it's not a small amount, and we've got this Instagram account, but we're so focused on doing one or two things well that whilst our Instagram, my personal Instagram account seems to be doing well, it's not what I do. It's, I think my focus needs to be in different locations, and the numbers and stuff can be fun and interesting, but actually I've got to follow the same advice I give to everybody else, right? I've got to focus in and do one or two things well rather than trying to do everything well.
Exactly.
And so, it's one of those.
Yep. Very true. One of the best pieces of advice we can give. Let's see. So at the same time, throughout the launch, I'm heavily focused on PR, and I'll typically work on maybe going on a media tour. So, doing podcasts like this. I'm going to start doing a lot more of this. In the past, I had gone on and done a lot of national TV.
Yeah.
And that's kind of going out, and podcasts are starting to come in.
Podcasts are great if you can get on them.
Yeah. Podcasts, YouTube, stuff like that is really the way of the future and where things are going. So it was great. I've been fortunate to have been able, to go on things like Fox News and CNBC and these national platforms and international. But I really think podcasts have been more beneficial over the last year or two than even any of these big TV shows.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? Because usually what you'll find is there's going to be a handful of podcasts in your specific niche. And so if you can get on those, their whole audience is your specific niche, where if you get on something like the BBC, which is great, and I'm not saying don't get on the BBC or CNBC or Fox News or any of these other guys, but their audience is everybody.
Yeah,
and so it's
exactly.
much more sort of big picture, isn't it? Whereas the podcasts are much more targeted, much more niche. It tends to be what I've found.
Exactly. Just another quick example on that. I was really surprised when I was a guest on the EO Fire podcast.
The John Lee.
John Lee Dumas.
Yeah,
exactly. Within, say, 48 hours of that podcast going live, I had so many more applications to work with me and my team than we ever had when I went on the Mornings with Maria, which what was that, a CNBC? I can't even remember, but it was, a big, it's broadcast at least across America. I don't know, maybe worldwide. And she's got millions of viewers. He has not close to that, but I had probably 5 times the amount of leads that had come in. Yeah, so
he's got a really good established podcast, actually, John. So if you do get a chance to listen to it, EO Fire, Entrepreneurs on Fire, isn't it? I think that's what the EO stands for. And I quite like his show. I've met some really interesting people through his show. Now I listen to it, and I listen to some of the guests, and I go, "That'd be a really cool guy to get on the show." So we approach them and say, "Listen, come on to the podcast." It's we really like what they do.
And that's another great thing about podcasts is you start going on the circuit. And you have that happens all the time. I've probably had 5 requests in the last week by different people, telling me they're selling me on how great their podcast is and why I should come on. So it's a great thing.
Yeah. So phase 7 is the launch and the growth phase. And then let's deal with phase 8, which you call the exit phase. You mentioned this earlier on when we were talking about the legals, but what's this all about? Yeah,
it's something I learned after my first exit, and a very hard lesson I learned, which, and most entrepreneurs are never thinking about this. We talked about in the beginning, because you're just off to the races thinking about making sales. You're not thinking about, what's going to happen in 2-3 years when you've got buyers that want all of your analytics and they want all of your accounting in perfect order. And I had none of this. So I had to go back and spend thousands of dollars hiring proper accountants, which I now have on staff. But to go back in, figure everything out, because I was using 2-3 different bank accounts, my personal, this and that, and I'd transfer money from one to the other. Do not do that. Take it from me. I made so many of these mistakes. and they cost me dearly. So start it right from the scratch.
Yeah.
I mean, from the beginning. And get your analytics, another big thing. If you need help on that, I've got a great team internally, but I'm happy to, they've got some extra time, so I can help there too. But something most people don't think about either. They'll just set up analytics real quickly, but they won't really focus in on their tag manager and getting all the buckets set up properly. But this is what buyers want to see. And you've got to believe and expect, if you're getting into business, you got to believe that you're going to eventually be at the point where you're going to sell this business one day. So yeah, that's the exit phase. It's really just getting your counting in order from the beginning, your analytics and tracking.
Yeah.
And I have so much ADD, it's crazy. And I'm by far, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I can tell you that right now. So the fact that I've been able to go out there and have 4 very successful exits in the past 5 years should tell you something. Like, this isn't rocket science.
No, you know what you're doing, and
it's simple, but it's not easy, right?
No, but you've got to get it right. And I think Michael Gerber that wrote the E-Myth? He said it right, that, your whole purpose in building a business is to sell it. And whether you actually physically sell it or whether if you keep it, you're buying it yourself, you're trading your life for that business. And so his whole thing is, you need this exit strategy. You build your business, you build it to sell it. Even if you're buying it yourself. And so you've got to position your business in a way that it's going to be attractive to a buyer. So yes, it's got to have turnover. Yes, it's got to have profit, but you've got to do the proper accounting and you've got to do the proper data, analytics and all that sort of stuff. So if someone comes along and wants to buy it, they can read through that and go, yeah, that's right for me. You've made it easy for them. And if you're the one buying it, if you're keeping it, you can read through that data and go, yes, this is worth exchanging another year of my life for, right? I can see that in the information. So,
and it cost me. I mean, on my first exit, we're talking about, between $2 and $3 million exit for my first company. Right? It's not a lot of money, but it's not a little bit of money. It's a good chunk, and I fell out of escrow twice because of this, because I didn't have the stuff in order and the people didn't want to waste the time or get buried in my mess going through it all. So fortunately, I was able to find somebody who could see past all that, and I spent all that money to get things in as good of order as I could, clean it all up. But just do not do that. I can't stress that enough.
How do you find people to buy your business then? So you sort of get in 2-3 years into it, you're feeling it's now time to sell. What do you have a process for that, or is it just chance encounters? How does that work for you? Well,
I've got a broker that I've used for the last couple. Sometimes people will reach out directly to you. For instance, with the Moscow Copper Company. So depending on the niche you're in, it was a perfect fit for these big spirit brands like Stoli, who we ended up partnering with, and they were initially very interested in purchasing the company. So that's also another thing we should touch on when creating your brand from the very beginning. A lot of times, it can be very helpful to actually think that through before starting. If you're deciding between 2 products to start, and one of them you can see a clear exit strategy with a perfect buyer, that sometimes I'll start a business just because I know who I want to sell it to, right? So I think
it's a really interesting idea. Yeah.
And then you will ultimately, if you build a good enough brand, people will start reaching out to you, and that's when you know you've done something right.
It's very true. I had one guy approach me, actually.
Putting people against each other.
He's really fascinating how you say that, because I did have, there's about 18 months ago, and conversations have stopped a little bit because of COVID, but it was fascinating how they approached me to buy one of my online businesses. And they said, listen, we are investors, we're cash-rich investors. We'll buy this. They wanted to buy this brand, and they said, we can amalgamate that and we can get on and run that. That's great. But could we make an agreement with you that you would set up a business and in 18 months time we would buy it? So they were like wanting to buy a business that I've not yet started. Yeah. They were like, you seem to have a good track record of being able to start businesses, online businesses. So we're happy to partner with you in the sense that.
So they're buying you.
Yeah, in effect. Yeah. It's like, sure, we can, I'll set this business up and you can buy it and we'll agree the terms ahead of time. So I know what it's going to look like. You know what it's going to look like. And I know what I'm building and why I'm building. And I have a clear exit strategy. It was absolutely fascinating. Absolutely fascinating.
That's amazing. Yeah. That reminds me now of these new platforms that are popping up. Oh, what's the name? There's this one I was blown away by recently that the whole platform is, it's like a stock exchange, but for entrepreneurs, for people. So you're buying future value of this person and this person's time.
Wow, that's a clever idea.
And their shares are going up and down, based on the volume. So you can buy, say, 20 hours where this guy he's just out of college. Maybe he's only at $30 an hour. And I've watched over the last couple of weeks as some people went from $30 an hour up to $200 and $300 an hour. It's a crazy concept, isn't it?
You'll have to send me that. I'd love to have a look at that and see what's going on. That sounds like really fascinating idea.
I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but I've got it in my notes.
Send it through to me. And if we can, we'll put it in the show notes if people want to check that out.
Awesome.
So let me... so we've gone through these 8 phases, right? And I appreciate you taking the time to sort of go through them and to explain them. And I found the whole thing fascinating, how you do it and the sort of the similarities that I go through, JJ, just listening to you talk. I'm like, yeah, we do that. Yeah, we do that. I wouldn't have put that way, but that's quite clever. So really, really enjoyed the conversation. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yeah, no, it's great chatting with you.
Oh, no, it's been great. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that? How do people connect with you?
Well, we never got much into it, but I'm really starting over from scratch, essentially, at this point, because after my most recent exit, of Moscow Copper, I decided to go in and launch this Build My Brand .xyz, and that's our incubator. But so we're now working with other new entrepreneurs who are looking to build their brands, and the best way to reach me would be either JJ at jjresnick.com. I look at and will reply to all of my emails directly, or the buildmybrand.xyz website, and you can apply there also to work with us.
Because that's something I've seen a few people do this, where people who have an entrepreneurial drive or an idea, but don't necessarily know fully what they're doing, they can go to that website. And in fact, we've put it on the screen now, buildmybrand.xyz, and you can use the link /curiosity if you like. You don't have to, it's no problem. And have a look at what you guys do, because you do work with entrepreneurs, don't you? And help them go through these phases. It's the process that you take people through. Your team come in and you help them build their business.
Exactly. And it's been so exciting. I mean, just in the last few months, timing was crazy because we launched this just before COVID hit. And
it's a good time to launch it, to be fair.
Oh yeah, because everybody in our target market we're looking for, is that corporate 9 to 5 person who wants to get out of the rat race and do their own thing. And that's a lot of people right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, we take them under our wing. We invest in them. I mentor them directly and build up brands. And so we're doing everything right now. Everything from a UV sanitizing all the way to working with doctors. One of them is a revolutionary at-home allergy test. Super exciting stuff, and everything in between.
Wow.
So we're, it's fun. I'm really relaunching, starting over from scratch. But at this point, it's like I can do it in my sleep almost. I know.
It's what you're used to, isn't it?
Yeah, I've done it.
And don't you find working with other entrepreneurs, we've just launched, for example, a website this week with a lady called Jo Jewett. Interestingly, also has JJ as her initials. But Jo Jewett, who is a lovely lady, she was the makeup artist for Princess Diana, Bette Midler, Barbra Streisand. She's really got some great clients under her belt. So we've just launched a project with her. Don't you find it's just such good fun working with other entrepreneurs that are hungry, that have a skill set that you don't have, but you can bring what you do and really help sort of magnify that, and together it's quite fulfilling.
It's
work,
what I live for. I mean, look, that's what brought us together. And you mentioned it in the beginning, our initial conversation that was supposed to be 15 minutes. I think we talked for an hour and a half that time. And that was the reason, because we both have different skill sets, and you would say something that would trigger me, and we were just feeding off each other back and forth. And now that's what I get to do all day long. And what my favorite thing to do and what I'm best at is building the brand and launching it. And what I don't enjoy is the continuous day-to-day operations, so now I find those people that want to be a CEO and have this successful business, give it to them, and I get them off to the races. So it's a win-win for both, and I get to spend my days working with all these new entrepreneurs. So it's
just is amazing.
So much fun.
Wonderful.
Love it.
Listen, JJ, I appreciate you being with us on the show. Thanks for taking the time to be here, and thanks for sharing in great detail your process. I'm sure folks have got a lot out of it. I know I certainly have got a lot of notes. And if people want to reach out and connect with you, they can do. And the link for JJ's website is on the screen if you're watching on Facebook. Buildmybrand.xyz if you're English, or XYZ if you are not. And check out JJ's website. Do get in touch with him, and as I said, we will put a link to JJ's site and the notes and everything from tonight's show on the show notes, which you can also find at mattedmundson.com. JJ, thanks for being with us. Thanks for taking the time to be here. Really, really appreciate you being with us. I hope all goes well for you with your new child that is approaching very, very quickly.
Might be coming today. You never know. Yeah, thanks, Matt.
No problem. Thanks for being on the show, JJ. Much appreciated.
See ya.
Okay, wasn't that fantastic with JJ? Didn't he just go through everything with a fine-tooth comb? This is going to be the kind of episode where you are going to want to go back and you're going to want to listen to it again. And we understand that totally. So you can watch it again. We'll put the video on YouTube. It will also be on Facebook, and you can listen to it again through the audio podcast system. No problem. As I said, we will put the notes from tonight's episode on the website, mattedmundson.com. Just head on over to there and dig out the episode with JJ, and you'll find all the show notes, all the links to the videos and the audio, because I know you're going to want to check it out again. It was so rich, that's for sure. And it can be something as simple as a tactic, like JJ was talking about quiz funnels, and you maybe go, oh, that sounds interesting, how he's using quiz funnels and sort of, halved his Facebook ads cost. So I'm going to go check that out. Or you might think, actually, I like this idea of building for an exit, building my business for an exit strategy. I want to find out more about that. Do get in touch with JJ. I'm sure I'd be happy to talk to you about it and his thinking behind it as well. So all that's left for me to say is thank you for tuning into the show. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of the community. Thanks for being one of my fellow e-commercer. We call you an e-commercer. I just like this word. We're an e-commercer. And we hope you got a lot out of the show. Hope you enjoyed JJ. Do stay connected. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your content, because we are going to carry on interviewing more fantastic folks like JJ in the show. We've got some great guests coming up. You are not going to want to miss any of it. So make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, and make sure, like I say, you connect with us on Facebook so you can also watch the lives. Thanks so much for watching. That's everything from me. So goodbye for now. Have a great day. Have a great evening wherever you are, and we will see you again very, very soon. So bye for now.
You've been listening to the e-commerce podcast with Matt Edmundson. Join us next time for more interviews, tips, and tools for building your business online.